sides of the same coin. Populism has two very different sides. On one hand, it can be a good thing. It amplifies the voices of those who feel ignored and shakes up the status quo. But if you flip over to the dark side of populism, it can also undermine the very rules and values that make democracy work. It can lead to more division and even pave the way for authoritarian leaders. Force for good. Let's start with the positives. How can populism actually make democracy stronger? Giving a voice to the voiceless. Populist movements often speak for people who feel shut out of the usual political process. They bring attention to issues that have been ignored and demand that our leaders do better. Shaking things up. When politicians get too comfortable, populist movements can give them a wake-up call. This can lead to more competition and a healthier debate about the issues that matter most. Getting people involved. Populism can get people excited about politics who might have tuned out before. This is good for democracy because it means more people are participating and having their say. The dark side of populism. But hold on a second, because populism isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Here's where it can get dangerous. Breaking the rules. Some populist leaders don't care much for the rules of democracy, like respecting the law or protecting minorities. They might even try to grab more power for themselves, creating divisions. Populist movements often focus on us versus them. This can make people angry and distrustful of each other, which isn't a recipe for a healthy democracy. Opening the door to authoritarianism. In worst cases, populism can make people so fed up that they turn to strongman leaders who promise simple questions. This can quickly erode democratic institutions and lead to one-person rule. It's complicated. So, is populism a friend or foe of democracy? The truth is, it is complicated. It can be both, depending on the situation and the people involved. Things to think about. To figure out whether populism is helping or hurting, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. What do the populists want? Are they fighting for fair things like economic equality or an end to corruption? Or are they pushing ideas that exclude or discriminate against certain groups? How do they fight? Are they using peaceful protests and engaging in dialogue, or are they resorting to violence and intimidation? How does our system respond? Can our democratic institutions handle populist demands without sacrificing our core values? The future of democracy. What does the future hold for democracy in this age of populism? That's up to us. It depends on the choices we make as citizens and members of society. We need to find ways to channel the positive energy of populism while guarding against its dangers. This means strengthening our democratic institutions and remembering the values that make democracy work. Questions for discussion. Let's end our lecture with some questions to make you think. Can populism ever be a good thing for democracy? If so, when? What are the best ways to fight back against the negative sides of populism? How can we make our democracy stronger so it can handle populist pressures? What role can education and community groups play in protecting democratic values when populism is on the rise?